The house was loud with voices, but something about the night felt unsettled from the start. Emily Carter noticed it while refilling a bowl of chips. Laughter rose and fell around her, familiar and friendly, yet her chest felt tight as if she were waiting for something she could not name. It was just another small gathering, her husband Mark's friends, his coworkers, a few neighbors. The kind of evening that blended into all the others. Still, Emily kept glancing toward the hallway. Daniel Reynolds stood near the wall, holding a drink he barely touched. He smiled when spoken to, nodded at the right moments, but his eyes seemed distant. Daniel was always calm, always polite. He was Mark's best friend, practically family. Emily had known him since the early days of her marriage. He was the one who helped Mark move furniture, who remembered birthdays, who showed up. Without being asked, reliable, quiet, safe. When people began to leave, the noise faded quickly. Coats were pulled on, hugs exchanged, promises made to meet again soon. Mark walked several guests to their cars, laughing as he went. The front door closed behind them. The silence that followed felt too sharp. Emily gathered empty cups from the coffee table, her movements automatic. She headed to the kitchen, already thinking about washing dishes and ending the night. That was when she realized Daniel was still there. He stood near the hallway, shoulders tense, staring at the floor. The front door remained closed. Mark had not returned yet, Daniel, Emily said gently. Did you forget something? He looked up, startled, as if pulled from deep thought. His eyes met hers, then quickly looked away. Can I talk to you? He asked. His voice was low, careful. Not rushed, not casual. Emily hesitated. There was nothing wrong with talking. Daniel had been in her home countless times. Still, something in his tone made her pause. Sure, she said. What's up? They moved to the living room. Emily sat on the edge of the couch, keeping space between them. Daniel remained standing for a moment, then sat across from her, his hands clasped together. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. I won't take much time, Daniel said. Okay, Mark will be back soon. Emily nodded, uneasy. Okay, Daniel. Took a slow breath. I've been carrying something for a long time. Emily's stomach tightened. What kind of something? He rubbed his hands together as if warming them. The kind you keep to yourself because saying it out loud changes things. She felt her pulse quicken. Daniel, if this is about Mark, it's about you, he said softly. The words landed hard. Emily straightened me. Nodded. I don't want you to misunderstand. I don't want anything from you. I don't expect anything. Then why say anything at all? She asked. He looked at her, then really looked at her, and the expression on his face made her breath catch. It was not hunger or boldness, it was restraint. Sadness, honesty held back for too long. It's because I'm leaving, he said. Leaving. Emily repeated. I got a job offer out of state, he said. Seattle. I leave next week. Emily blinked. I didn't know. No one does yet, he replied. I haven't told Mark. A dozen thoughts rushed through her mind. Daniel leaving felt strange, unexpected. He had always been a constant presence. I didn't plan to say anything tonight, Daniel continued. But when I saw you earlier laughing in the kitchen, I realized I couldn't go without being honest, just once. Emily felt her chest tighten. Honest about what? Daniel leaned forward slightly, elbows on his knees. I've loved you. The room seemed to tilt. Emily's ears rang as if she had stepped into silence too suddenly. She stared at him, waiting for him to laugh, to explain, to take the words back. He didn't. Not in a way that crosses lines, Daniel said quickly. Not in a way that disrespects your marriage. I've never touched you, never hinted, never tried. Emily stood up, her heart pounding. You shouldn't say this. I know, he said. That's why I never did. Until now. She walked toward the window, her reflection staring back at her. The woman she saw looked calm, but she felt anything but "This isn't fair," she said. "You're Mark's friend." "I know," Daniel said. "That's why I'm telling you now, when I'm leaving. I don't want this to follow me. And I don't want you to wonder, years from now, why things felt strange." Emily turned. Did they feel strange? He hesitated. Sometimes her throat felt dry. She thought of small moments she had dismissed over the years. Daniel, noticing when she was tired. Daniel asking how she was really doing. Daniel listening without checking his phone. Things she had accepted without question. "I never wanted to be this person," Daniel said. "I never wanted to put you in this position." "Then why now?" Emily asked. "Because I'm tired of pretending my feelings didn't exist," he said. "And because I respect you enough to be honest." Emily shook her head. "This changes everything." "I know," he said quietly. "That's why I'm sorry." They stood there, the space between them heavy with words neither knew how to hold. "Do you expect me to say something back?" Emily asked. "No," Daniel replied. "I don't want anything in return. I don't want you to choose. I just needed you to know that you mattered to me in a way I never acted on." Emily closed her eyes briefly. Her thoughts were racing, but one feeling stood out above the rest: not attraction, not betrayal, but shock. A door had opened she hadn't known existed. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway cut through the moment. Daniel straightened. "That's Mark." Emily's heart jumped. "You can't. I won't say anything else," Daniel said. "This ends here." He moved toward the door just as Mark walked in, cheerful and relaxed. "There you are," Mark said to Daniel. "I thought you left already." "Almost," Daniel replied, his voice steady. "Just saying goodbye." Mark clapped him on the shoulder. "We'll catch up soon." Daniel nodded, then looked at Emily one last time. There was no request in his eyes, only acceptance. "Take care," he said. Then he left, the door closed softly behind him. Emily stood frozen in the living room as Mark headed to the kitchen, talking about traffic and plans for the weekend. His voice sounded distant, as if coming from another room. She answered when needed, smiled when expected, but her mind was elsewhere. Something had shifted. Not because Daniel had confessed his feelings, but because she had realized how much of herself she had ignored. How easily quiet attention could feel like warmth, how dangerous unspoken truths could be. That night, as Emily lay beside her husband, staring at the ceiling, she understood one thing clearly. Daniel had waited until everyone left. And with just a few honest words, he had changed how she saw her life forever. The days after Daniel left did not slow down, but Emily felt as if time had shifted around her. Morning routines continued. Coffee brewed. Emails filled her inbox. Mark kissed her goodbye before work, just as he always had. Nothing on the surface had changed, yet everything felt different inside her. Daniel's words stayed with her, not as temptation, but as a question she could not ignore. She tried to push it away. She told herself it was only shock, only surprise. Still, moments kept rising in her mind, quiet memories that now carried new meaning. Daniel listening while others talked over her. Daniel remembering small details no one else did. Daniel never stepping too close, yet never pulling away. Emily realized something that unsettled her. She had felt seen. That realization hurt more than the confession itself. Mark was kind, he was dependable. He had been her partner for years. But over time, their conversations had grown thin. They spoke about schedules, bills, plans. They rarely spoke about fears, dreams, or disappointments. It wasn't neglect, it was comfort that had slowly turned into distance. One evening, Emily sat alone on the couch, staring at the blank television screen. The house was quiet. Mark was still at work. She let herself think freely for the first time. She did not want Daniel. She wanted to feel alive inside her own life again. When Mark came home, she noticed the tired slump of his shoulders, the way he loosened his tie without looking up. She saw him really saw him and felt a rush of guilt. He was not the enemy. He was simply unaware. "Mark," she said softly. He looked up. "Can we talk?" she asked. He hesitated, surprised by her tone. "Sure. Everything okay?" "I don't know," she admitted. "But I want us to talk anyway." Sat at the table, hands resting apart, Emily searched for the right words. She could not mention Daniel. That was not the point. This was about something deeper. "Do you ever feel like we're just moving?" she asked. "Not really choosing each other anymore?" Mark frowned slightly. "I didn't know you felt that way." "I didn't either," she said. "Not until recently." He leaned back, quiet. Emily feared she had gone too far, but then he spoke. "I guess I thought things were fine," he said. "Comfortable." "Comfort isn't bad," Emily replied, "but I miss feeling close to you." Mark looked at her for a long moment. "Why didn't you say something sooner?" "I didn't know how," she said. "And maybe I was afraid nothing would change." That night, they talked longer than they had in years. It wasn't dramatic or perfect. There were pauses, misunderstandings, moments where both struggled to explain what they felt. But they stayed at the table. They didn't walk away. And that mattered. Days turned into weeks. Mark made small efforts, asking questions, listening more carefully, putting his phone down during dinner. Emily noticed and responded. She opened up, shared thoughts she had kept to herself. Slowly, something softened between them. Daniel stayed silent. Emily expected another message, another reminder of that night. None came. The absence felt intentional, respectful. She appreciated that more than she wanted to admit. One afternoon, an email arrived. She recognized Daniel's name. Immediately, her hand hovered over the mouse before she opened it. The message was short. He said he hoped she was well. He said the move had gone smoothly. He said he meant what he promised. He would not cross lines or reopen old words. He added only one thing: that honesty, even when painful, could be a kind of gift. Emily closed the laptop without replying. Not because she didn't care, because she did. That evening, she went for a walk alone. The sky was soft with fading light. She thought about choices, about how easily lives could shift with a single conversation. Daniel's confession had not pulled her away. It had pushed her inward. She understood now that longing did not always mean desire. Sometimes it meant hunger for connection, for understanding, for being fully present. Mark noticed the change in her one night as they sat together watching nothing in particular. He reached for her hand. "I'm glad you spoke up," he said. "So am I," she replied. Months passed. Seasons changed. Daniel became a distant figure in their lives, mentioned only briefly in conversation. He had started a new job. A new chapter. Emily never replied to his email, but she thought of him with gratitude rather than regret. He had held his feelings without harming her life. He had stepped away without demanding anything in return. That mattered. One evening, Mark surprised her with a simple dinner at home. No special occasion. Effort. "I remembered you liked this pasta," he said. Emily smiled. "I do." They ate slowly, talking about hopes they had once set aside, travel ideas, career thoughts, small dreams that had waited too long. Later, as Emily lay in bed, she reflected on how close she had come to misunderstanding her own heart. Daniel had been a mirror, not a path. He showed her what was missing. She chose where to find it. Years later, Emily would think back to that quiet shift in her life, not with pain, but with clarity. The moment someone spoke the truth and walked away. The moment she listened and stayed. Not every love story is about being together. Some are about being awakened, and that was enough.